Hello. Welcome to this week's edition of the Ride Along Radio Show. My name is George Holt, and I have a couple of guys with me who are a blast from the past. My God, we've got the band back together tonight for episode 100 of the Ride Along Radio Show. So, for the final time this year, my name is George. I was a cop for 25 years in L.A., worked a bunch of assignments, SWAT, K-9, narcotics, etc. Retired as a sergeant. And I'm going to start here, and then we'll go to the guy to my right. So go ahead, guy on the left.
Who prepared these anyway?
Kentley, go ahead.
He doesn't even know how to work.
That's okay. You don't need
so
it.
long, he didn't even know how to put headphones on.
I know how Bitcoin
That's amazing.
I know how Bitcoin is mined, but I can't get this untangled.
The difference is that's valuable knowledge to have right now. Go ahead. All right. So this is Kent. Go ahead, Kent.
I know about Bitcoin, and I'm trying to teach George about it, but
George knows about Bitcoins. Check his bank account. Go ahead, Gil.
I'm Gil Contreras, and this is Ride Along Radio.
And you know what? And not only is this show number 100, my God.
100.
It's also the last show of 2017. And, when we started this October 1st.
Is that the last show of 2017?
It's the last show of 2017, and it's the last show for the foreseeable future. But that's a spoiler. I'm going to get into at the end of the show.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right. So it just worked out that it lined up that 100 was also the last show.
100.
At 2017, 100. Like you see on the little emoji, the red 100. 100.
Yeah.
And, man, for 2 years plus, we've been doing this, and
2 años?
Por 2 años.
Wow.
Y tres mesas? Mensas? No, not mesas. What is
Mensa.
months?
Who's a mensa?
No, mesas is tables. How do you say months? I forget. How do you say
Mesa?
Mesa?
Mensas. Right.
No. Somebody call in que habla español.
Wait, I know somebody was a mensa.
And mensa is a different thing, though. That's a different thing altogether. Messes.
What did I say?
We said mesas. Mesas are table.
That's mesa, sure. Not to be confused with masa.
Masa is a whole different thing.
That's right, because that's what you be talking sometimes. You be talking masa.
Masa, that's right.
Quite as it's kept.
Exactamente.
Quite as it's kept.
Exactamente. So, anyway.
You be talking buku masa on Facebook.
Masa, mierda y la verdad. Okay?
I don't know about verdad.
La verdad.
I don't know about verdad.
So, verdad. Que pocho. So, listen. Here's the... we're going to do a quick little flashback to when we first started.
We are?
2 años ago, 2 years ago. Just a quick little clip on how we started and how we introed the first thing. And welcome to Ride Along Radio. This is our first segment here, so we're going to kick off with our introductions. We're going to introduce the show, introduce the host, and then we'll get into our topic for the day. This panel is comprised of retired law enforcement officers or former law enforcement officers. We felt that in our positions, with our perspective and our experience, it would give us a platform to answer questions people had, to speak on topics of the day without fear of retribution from our departments. So we look at it as you'll get straight answers from us on these topics. And we like to think we were pretty forthright when we were police officers, too. But now that we're retired, there's really no reason for us to hold back. And so we can provide a unique perspective. My name is George. I spent almost 25 years in local law enforcement, worked a variety of assignments. I retired as a sergeant in a large K-9 unit. And so my background, I think, will lend some breadth and some depth to some of these subjects that we're going to be talking about over the course of the show. To my left is Gil, and Gil can tell you about his background.
Yeah, my name is Gil Contreras, and I'm a former officer with worked at one of the agencies that George worked at, mid-'80s to early 90s. And I'm also an award-winning journalist. I've done radio before, so I won a Golden Mic. I did public radio before. And this is what I covered. I covered police incidents for public radio, and glad to be here, George. Thanks.
All right. And here's Kent.
My name's Kent. I worked with George and Gil at this unknown agency in Los Angeles County. I spent a little time with Gil Contreras when he had a radio show at another time back in the 90s. Some similar topics, but It's been about 14 years. I've been retired for 18, though, so I've been out for quite a while. So,
Man, and those dudes were old 2 years ago, so how do we look now? Damn.
yeah, but I
man,
look younger
We
than
were
you,
so
though.
serious.
Yeah, right.
Why,
Well, you know what,
why are we
man?
so serious on that first show?
I think we were trying to find our way. And I know for me, it was my first broadcasting. You guys had done it before. But for me, especially you, but for me, it was my first time, like, being on the spot. I appeared on people's shows as a guest or whatever, but I had never been, like, the guy here in the middle
Right.
talking masa. So it was a new experience for me.
Well, it's interesting. I think if people were to watch from that show on, they'll see the evolution of George Holt.
Yeah,
Because
right.
when we started, Barack Obama was still president, so
That's
you were
right.
still happy.
So all was still good in the world.
And then all of a sudden...
all was right in the world back then. It's like pre 9/11 or some shit. All was right back then. And then we went from sugar to shit. And so here we are in 2017 with the current situation. But it's a trip because we kind of did the flip flop. You were the one coming in bitter and angry.
Oh, no,
and
that was
right.
Ken Lee.
You were bitter, he was angry, and I was happy. And now it's reversed.
It's Make America Great.
That's
Yeah, now
right. I'm tired of winning. I'm just tired of winning.
Yeah.
I
Okay, don't worry.
Don't
worry.
I'm so tired of winning. I'm sick with it. I'm sick with it.
So, one of the things that we do is we get into our social media feedback, but I'm going to save that until we get into some videos later because Cabot Haynes, the one who christened you Gil O'Reilly, actually had a great question. And we were talking, just coincidentally enough, Cabot, we were talking about this exact incident, the Mesa incident, before we went live on the air tonight. But I'm going to go into some of our past in-studio guests and going through the list. And I probably left somebody off, but it was way more people than I realized. And I seemed to like, oh, yeah, that guy. Oh, yeah, she came in too.
Right.
And I'm constantly adding names. So if I miss something, let me know. We had award-winning journalist Frank Stoltz came in. Dr. Earl O'Farry Hutchinson from the Hutchinson Report came in. We had community activist Joe Hicks. May he rest in peace.
That's right.
He came in, and he was interesting because he is someone who had gone from being a firebrand liberal, like Black Panther type liberal, to being a conservative. And he kind of like laid out his journey for us.
His voice is truly a loss to the community.
Yeah, and
Truly
when he passed within 6 months of being on the show, I think,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
We were trying to get him back on, and that's when I got word that he had passed away, that he couldn't be a guest.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, well,
Crazy.
That was amazing. But he was a good guest, man, and just a good
Smart guy.
activist,
Really smart
and just
guy.
a guy who's, like you said, his voice had gravity in the community and on the issues. We had a guy who's become a friend of mine, comedian Jeff Brown, of course, came in and gave us our highest numbers ever. Then we had your boy come in, Dusty Angel. Dusty Angel came on, the host of the Uncle Tom Hour. The host of the aptly named Uncle Tom Show came on. I wasn't here. I think was I in Florida or something?
Yeah, you were gone. Yeah.
I was down at Altair or something in Gatorville or something, so I missed that one. But he was an interesting guy, though.
He's a funny dude.
Yeah, he is funny now. Regardless, whatever
right.
else, he's funny.
He's a funny dude, but he's also a genuine guy. He's a genuine guy, and I really enjoy his honesty. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he doesn't mask anything. He just puts it out there from a black guy's perspective, a conservative black guy's perspective.
Right. Let's qualify that.
And
There's a difference.
Yeah.
What you saying, George?
Qualify
Obviously,
that.
I wasn't there. That's too bad.
No, he was funny though. He was funny, and but he was smart and funny. So there's a difference between somebody just busting funnies, but he was smart and funny. Now, and I came to appreciate his point of view. Actually,
speaking of smart and funny, the guy who I found smart but not that funny was your boy Jeff Brown. He never made me laugh once. I just got to say that.
Well, I'm sure
I never laughed once.
But if you watch it again now that you're removed from it by a year, maybe you'll find the humor in it. But no, Jeff is brilliant, and Jeff is hilarious. And as a matter of fact, I was in
when he did make me laugh, it was like this. That was it. That's it.
Well, you're in the minority of people who don't find Jeff Brown funny. In fact, when I was in Philadelphia for the Army-Navy game a couple of weeks ago, I'm waiting for my boy to get off the plane, and I'm listening to Sirius XM, and one of his bits comes on the Comedy Channel on Sirius XM. It was funny guy. We also had then Dominique Purdy and Paul Sapiano, who were respectively the star and director/writers of the movie Driving While Black, which is actually finally going to be released in theaters on February 1st. Just in time for Black History Month. So February 1st, 2018.
Did you have to go back and refilm some things?
No.
We spent some time with them, and we actually revealed what...
you know what they did is they went around and won a whole bunch of awards. I mean, like a dozen awards on the Independent Film Festival circuit. And then they got distributorship, and now they're going to be out in the theaters.
Oh.
So Driving While Black, look for it. They have a Facebook page called Driving While Black, etc. Yep, DWB, Driving While Black. So those guys came in. We also had Stanley Campbell, who actually came in a couple of times. Stanley Campbell from CCW Safe, the retired Oklahoma City PD lieutenant. He came in, and the last time he came in, he was joined by Don West, who was known as the criminal defense attorney who got George Zimmerman acquitted of murder charges in the Trayvon Martin killing. And Mike Darter also came in as part of the whole CCW Safe conglomerate of guys, as a part of the leadership team over there. And Mike came in one time, he was on the air, and one time he was not on the air. So Mike Darter came in a couple of times. We had Erin Umfenor, and you're going to look at me like, who? I'm going to remind you. She was the lady who came in who talked about the victims of sex trafficking when we had the Celeste Guap story going, the Oakland PD underage sex scandal. Remember that? She was the sex trafficking activist,
right?
Who came in and sat with us and talked about.
Did she forecast all these resignations from Congress?
No, she didn't see that. It was before the hashtag Me Too movement, so she didn't forecast that, but she could have. You know, if she had. I'm sure she would have
shown you the list of Democrat politicians.
Yeah, or she could have told you to stay out of Bitcoin if she was psychic like that.
Wow, he's not going to let that go.
Anyway, and then Gil brought in Luis Bravo. Now, did Luis come in more than once, or he came in once and he called once?
No, he came in twice actually.
Okay, I thought he came in more than once.
And he brought Jorge Bueno.
That's the other guy
on the telephone, and
right.
Jorge
he's a calling guy.
Yeah, he's a commercial real estate developer. He's a financial guy. He's a nut. I mean, talk about smart guys. He's one of these smart ones, and he's urging caution with the whole Bitcoin thing that's going on right now.
I'm urging caution too. That's why I just bought one a long time ago.
Yeah, but you bought it a long time ago.
Yeah. And of course, we had Sister Heron, who came in from Gang Talk, which comes on an hour before us. She came in. You missed that one, but you were here, I think, when Skip Townsend sat in with us one time. Because Skip came in one time, and then I sat in on their show, and then Sister Heron stayed and came on. So we had both Sister Heron and Skip Townsend in from Gang Talk, but at different times. We have had Marshall McLean on from the Los Angeles Airport Police Officers Association, the president of that union. Marshall's been in a couple of times.
And he's a Rico Suave kind of guy.
Marshall is a mover and a shaker, man. Marshall is one to watch.
I dig Marshall's style. Let me just say that. Marshall, I dig your style, brother.
And that's high praise indeed. You see how stylishly Gil is dressed today.
So, it's the holiday, brother.
You must have got a raise.
Yeah, there you go. Well, see, that's that good coin coming in. And then we had Ken Shepard, who was the PI in that infamous LASO, LA Sheriff's Office caper, the surveillance, he got jammed up.
Yeah.
He was actually brought in by Jasmine Canick, who is a political and social issues commentator. And Jasmine has a star next to her name because Jasmine, I think, has been on the show more than anybody else. I think Jasmine's been on it about 4 times.
Yeah, she's the one who went through the shooting simulator thing.
Yes. Actually, she's was going to come out and do that at my place last week, but we're going to set that up for another time.
I think she was holding her gun like this.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
if I remember about correctly.
That. I'm going to get you squared away, though, Jazz. We're going to get you squared away on I'm going to make you real lethal. You're going to be looking like Proud Mary when I get done with you. So we'll get you squared away.
I just saw the billboard for that, by the way.
Yeah, it's out, man. It's coming out. It's coming out January 12th. So if you are looking for a good movie, good action-packed movie with a good plot, good actors, and damn good gunplay, go see Proud Mary starring Taraji P. Henson, Billy Brown, and Danny Glover. And I was a weapons trainer on that film. That's how I know that the weapons handling is going to be legit. So check it out.
Now wasn't Taraji P. Henson, isn't that the chick that was screwing some guy in a car And then when the LAPD...
No.
Oh, it wasn't her?
No.
Who was it?
Uh-oh.
No, that was somebody else entirely. I know who you're talking about, but it wasn't her. No, that was somebody who's like a bit player on a TV show. Taraji's like an A-list actor.
I thought it was her.
Nah, negative.
That's
negative.
I've been boycotting her shows and
because she got okay
for no reason. That's something.
No. Well, now you know what happened was Taraji's son got stopped by Glendale PD. And she made a big deal about it. And then when the truth came out, she issued a very public apology to Glendale PD.
Oh.
Taraji's dad was a cop, though. So that kind of maybe, lended
I see.
or motivated her maybe to come out and kind of correct that.
Well, I guess I can go see the movie then because I was going to boycott it.
Okay.
For playing the race card. But it wasn't her. So.
It was not her.
Okay, so good.
Absolutely not her.
I can't wait to see it.
So
will we see your name in the credits?
You sure will. It'll be under weapons trainer.
It won't be technical consultant?
It won't be technical consultant this time. On all my other credits, it says technical advisor, police technical advisor. This one just says weapons trainer.
Boom.
Which seems far more lethal.
Look at you.
So, yeah, right. Just got the check the other day, too. I'm really happy about that.
Is that right?
Yeah, and let me just tell you, I know why movie tickets are so expensive. Yeah. But good show. Good. Enjoyed working with her and Billy and everybody else.
Now, is she as good as Keanu Reeves?
That's a whole different type of movie.
I'm just asking.
That's a whole different type of movie. So
it's guns. I'm going to be looking for tactics, George. I'm going to be looking for tactics.
Good. And you should be looking for mag changes and gun handling and proper cheek weld and all that kind of stuff.
Boom.
Right? Okay, so Jasmine, back to Jasmine Mechanic. Jasmine gets like I said, a star. I think Jasmine's been on 4 times. Talk about the Ed Buck situation. Talk about she came in with Junior Jet, Ken Shepard, the PI. She came in about a month ago to talk about the Cameron Terrell situation, which was the Rancho Palos Verdes Most Wanted, the rich white kid that's a member of the Rolling 90s Crips that was involved in the drive-by like on Century and Western. he was like Malibu's Most Wanted, but like really Rancho Palos Verdes Most Wanted. Lived in a multi-million-dollar home. Gets popped for murder. His parents post $5 million bail in the Mercedes his parents brought him. Wow. By the way, actually, I think he drove the car. Allegedly, he pulled up. Shooters got out. Shooters deployed. Shot the victim, and the shooters jumped back in the ride, and he took off. So
these were gangbangers that were
Rolling 90s Crips. And he was a member of the Rolling 90s Crips. He appears in some of the videos.
I didn't know.
I guess so. I guess so. Well, no, you know what? We had some white boys in some of our Crip gangs out in West LA and down in the harbor. We had some white Crips. Yeah. And then
would like to have arrested that guy, whoever that was.
Well,
I didn't get enough white guys to arrest in my career.
Well, yeah.
All the white people that I arrested were buying drugs.
No, these boys were slinging. These boys were major league dope slingers, the ones I'm talking about. And then, of course, we had fan favorite Trish Navaratna Singham, a.k.a. Baby Sis Trish.
Fan favorite?
Fan favorite.
What?
Yeah, she got people who watch the show who are her friends on Facebook now. They be tagging each other, her and Teresa Dash and all that.
Are these all the guests?
Huh?
Are those all the guests?
In studio guests right here, yep. And so Trish came in several times, I think. I think she's probably right behind Jasmine in terms of having come in.
Yeah, I think we limited her to 2, though. She you can't have been 2. You can't have too much of Trish. She's crazy.
Trish is right on point. Trish is the Contreras kid that didn't get dropped on her head. So
look, Trish is the one that got held underwater too long when she was a baby. Okay,
the baptism.
You don't hear me though. You don't hear me though. It was in a plastic tub. It was in the sink. There was slippery. Shit, boom! She hit her head.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened. Next thing you know, she's at USC.
Wow.
Yeah, Lee.
Well, and then we had, of course, my childhood friend who's grown up to be quite a smart guy and an opinionated guy. And an outspoken guy, and always been a funny guy since he was 8 years old when I first met him. The one and only John Denny, a.k.a. Denny Cad. John Denny came in and sat in with us one night, or sat in with me, I believe, one night.
I was going to say, I don't remember that.
And then I'm going to single David Cruz out for honorable mention. Although he never came in, he was always willing to jump on and Skype in or be in by telephone. Award-winning journalist David Cruz.
That guy is a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend in the LA radio scene.
In LA news. When I met him, he was doing news at Channel 4, KNBC local.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
and he and I met at the North Hollywood Shootout.
Right, you told me that.
That's where we met, and then he came on my show, and he's remained a friend and mentor to me. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I like that dude a lot, man. I like how he expresses himself. And then I saved, last but not least, Mr. Eddie Goodman, who was one of our first
That's right.
first guests. Eddie's right here. Actually, Eddie's
Thank you,
here. Eddie came into
Eddie Goodman.
Eddie Goodman, right
take
there.
a bow,
Eddie's our one-man studio audience tonight.
Eddie, take a bow.
He
Take
came,
a bow.
He came on in, and he wanted to be here for show number 100 because he was here at the beginning.
100.
Now, we also had past guest hosts, and all of these people are people who have law enforcement backgrounds who sat in and either sat in when there was two of us or just one of us, and they rode shotgun in the L car and made it an A car. And the one who came in, I think, more than once was, I think Roger Ride came in at least twice. He might have come in three times. So cop turned comedian and founder of the Blue Lives Matter comedy tour, Mr. Roger Ride. Roger, if you're out there, hey, brother, thanks. I appreciate you. And let's stay in touch. Also, Mr. David Raybon, who's also a cop turned comic, former Houston PD guy, took a medical retirement, former narcotic detective in Houston. He's also a member of the Blue Lives Matter comedy tour with Roger Ride. Dave, thanks for coming in. We had J.B. Williams, who came in more than once. J.B. came and sat in a couple of times. And J.B. may be involved in future shows once we get that set up and rolling again. Of course, Charles Gaither came in at least once, maybe twice.
That's right.
At least once, maybe twice. Charles came in, former Inspector General guy, came in and sat down with us and helped us decipher the stories of the day. And then most recently, we had retired Captain LaPonda Fitzpatrick. LaPonda came in and sat in with me about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And we went over all that stuff that we covered that day. So we had her perspective, and people were happy to see a female officer finally join the panel.
Yeah,
she was the first one that we've ever had.
She's usually, making fun of me on Facebook. So
you guys usually interact there, right? So we had that going, and it's been a 100 show ride, and even though we weren't here every week, we're pretty much here every week. We never went 2 weeks, I think, dark, maybe once if it's a holiday or something, but typically we just been on it, and so looking back has actually been pretty cool because, and if I missed anything, anybody in the chat room, if you want to call in, if I missed a person who was an in-studio guest or missed somebody who was a past guest host, please let me know because I hate to leave anybody out.
How about a call-in guest we had?
Oh, we've had a
Ron
couple
McCarthy.
of them.
who?
Oh, Ron McCarthy. Yeah.
That's
We had Ron
right.
McCarthy.
LAPD
He gave
icon.
some great
Legendary.
technical,
Legendary dude,
narration
Ron
that day.
McCarthy. Oh, yeah, of course, Willie Sweet Wonka Joe. I mean, it goes without saying. He's a Ride Along Radio Show legend.
Let's not go too far.
He's our most prolific call-in. Him and Eddie Goodman are our two most prolific callers. So listen. So now let me get to this before we go to the break. I want to address Cavett Haynes because we got like 5 minutes. And I think we can flesh that 5 minutes out with the conversation we had. 5 minutos. And Cavett Haynes wants to know, this is via YouTube, Sergeant Holt, in your tactical opinion, did the Mesa, Arizona officer's actions make sense? Seems like he had the suspect doing too much by crawling toward him, adding more suspect actions to the situation. Now, this is the situation where the officer was actually acquitted of second-degree murder last week. In the situation where they were called to a hotel in Mesa, Arizona, a guy had a pellet gun, I believe it was. There was a call of him brandishing a weapon
outside the window.
I said right, but then by the time the police got there, I guess he had divested himself of the weapon, and I guess they called him out of the hotel, out of the room.
Divested himself.
He had divested himself. Yeah, that's an aviation security.
Divested himself of the Bitcoin.
He had divested himself.
He sold it.
Yeah, you better hurry up. He had divested himself of the weapon. He no longer had it, and then the officers had, and this is all on video, and we covered it.
Well, they were giving numerous commands for the people in that room to come out. And they were getting no response.
Okay,
and then.
I didn't know you guys had done that last week. Was it last week?
It was last week or week before last.
I saw that last week. I just pulled it up.
It was last week because he got acquitted, I think, last week, right? And so then we talked about it last, something like that. Yeah.
I really have some heartburn with that one.
Okay, so the situation was, and you guys can look the video up, or you can watch the last show or whatever. The Cavett's asking about was the officer had a rifle, had the rifle pointed at the suspect, had the suspect get out on his knees and start crawling toward him to get him away from that room, which apparently he still had people in it, I guess.
Right.
So he wanted to get him away from that threat situation, having him crawl toward him. during that time, the suspect reached down to pull his pants up or something. He touched his waistband. The officer just lit him up like the 4th of July. Shot him repeatedly. Dude died right there, I believe, in the hallway, right?
Yep.
And killed him. Now, one of the interesting things that came out of this, and one of the things I always talk to people about, was that officer had an inscription on his rifle that I believe helped secure that second-degree murder indictment against him. And he had on the inside dust cover of his rifle, so that AR-15 or M16 rifle, M4 rifle rather, has a little dust cover that goes over the ejection port. And when you fire it, it pops open. But typically you keep it closed to keep the inside of the weapon clean. Well, when it popped open, it revealed a phrase that says "you're fucked" on it.
On the inside of it.
On the inside of the dust cover. So when it pops, because they figure if you see this, you're fucked, right? That means I had to pull the trigger and it popped it open.
Or it's a double whammy. There's two reasons for it. You did it on the inside of it so nobody would see it typically.
Of course.
Unless you're actually firing rounds.
Right.
And so it hides it most of the time.
It hides it most of the time. And if I'm a supervisor doing an inspection on a weapon, if I'm just inspecting it for parts, not for cleanliness, because nobody inspects police officers' guns for cleanliness out in the field.
Right.
You do that in a formal inspection, and rifles aren't part of that.
We used to have, and I still see this when I'm driving down the freeway, and I'll call them idiots that we used to work with that would have things like "I'm CCW" on the license plate frame,
yeah,
or little
417
little code words,
sure,
just total.
Those
stupidity.
are things that were supposed to be clues to other cops. Is what it was supposed to be.
You said that there were people in that. So the video stopped at he ordered that guy out of the room, down the hallway. There were other people in the room. Is that correct?
That's what you're saying?
What? No, they didn't know how many people were in the room.
Okay, they assumed there were other people in the room.
That's
okay,
correct.
Okay, wait.
So there was just two had come out.
Okay. So why did he decide to go to the room after he shot that guy?
Yeah, because you saw him close on the room and they tried to make entry.
Sure, he brought the guy out there and he was trying to make him crawl all the way down the hallway. If it was that important, then why didn't he, after he shot that guy, why didn't the other guys or people get called out, if that's the case?
Yeah.
Maybe, but you know what?
It wasn't that
he might have realized
he needed to go through
well, at that
all
point,
this,
he'd already shot him. They'd already gone up to handcuff him and secure him, and I'm sure they cleared his waistband, found, oh, damn, he's unarmed. So now we got to get in that room because there's a weapon, and maybe the weapon was ditched in there.
Well, a better reason not to have gone into the room at that time because shots were already fired. So why would you then make an entry once you've shot one guy right there and going into the room? That whole thing should have been shut down. It should have turned into a full SWAT situation to have cleared that room. If not, there was no reason to then hopped over this dude, gone down the hallway, and made an entry into the room.
Now, weren't these guys some sort of special team or something? The guys that
I don't know. I don't know if they were just patrol guys with rifles. That's real common.
They were dressed kind of tactical.
Oh, they were, huh? Yeah, he had like a plate carrier, and I think he had like a T-shirt on.
And that could have been their normal.
Might have been special
their normal uniform for that
for
night.
Arizona. Hell yeah, it's Arizona.
This is a Class C uniform.
Yeah, for Arizona, especially as hot as it gets out there, the guys may have had a modified uniform.
Yeah,
Well, okay, well. Even if it wasn't handled with SWAT tactics.
Can somebody?
So that wasn't SWAT that I saw.
Can somebody tell the difference between somebody who's a true threat and somebody who's a drunk who can't keep his pants up and he's got plumber's crack?
Well, that's the thing, and I talked about this last week. I've seen people who've been shot laying there getting treated by the paramedics. Paramedics take out those magic shears and they go up the side of the pants to get to where you've been shot in the side and the ass. And the guy is so modest; he's laying there bleeding out. But he's still trying to cover up his butt crack because he don't want people in the neighborhood to see his butt crack. You're about to die, okay? Let the paramedics work on you. But that modesty. So this guy is drunk, and he's crawling down there, and he's got those saggy basketball shorts on, so they're probably already at his knees. So when he starts crawling, they're starting to come down. Second nature modesty. He reaches down to pull his pants up, and he gets lit up.
Mm-hmm. Plus, he was upset. He was crying.
That dude was blubbering. That dude was hysterically scared, man.
He was stupid. He couldn't understand simple commands, and I didn't know why they were giving so many commands to the kid when he obviously couldn't understand.
Well, because he
couldn't comprehend what they were doing.
Because he was as nervous as the suspect, apparently.
Well, the Sarge was the one calling everything out initially, and and then they kept saying things like, do what I tell you, follow instructions,
or you will be shot.
Do you understand? Right.
It certainly did nothing to de-escalate the situation.
Well, I think he should kiss his lucky ass that he's not in prison. That's what I think.
Well, he walked on second-degree murder charges. However, I think that dust cover inscription was all they needed to fire him. Because he was fired for violating department policy, and I believe that's what it was.
And he won't get a job. anywhere after that.
No.
I don't know
It's
about
over.
that.
He ain't going to get a job as a copper, not in that part of the country.
You be Sakides.
Well, he can do that. But listen, here's the thing. So that's why I always tell people who do this, and I'm going to refer to them as dummies. So if this applies to you, yes, I'm referring to you as a dummy. Don't put anything on your weapon that is obscene, that is profane, that celebrates death. So that means Punisher skulls, skull and crossbones, Grim Reapers. None of that dumb shit.
Or a Viking tattoo on your cap.
All that. Don't put dumb shit like that on your gun, because if you smoke somebody with that gun will be admitted into evidence, and photos of that gun are going to be put up there on the big screen in front of everybody in the jury box, and they're going to talk about your mindset and where you running around with a heart on to kill somebody, and you're so into it that you got to put death inscriptions on your gun. At the very least, it makes you look unprofessional. At the very worst, it makes you look bloodthirsty. So if you got any dumb shit like that on your gun, get it off your gun before you kill somebody with it, and have to explain that to the administration or to the jury, even worse. And because there ain't no explaining that one. Sorry.
If they could have gone into that room after shooting that guy, they could have gone down the hallway.
That's right.
And put handcuffs on him. If it
They
was
should have just
that
stopped
big
kid.
of a deal,
Exactly.
then they should have followed that same line of thinking.
Well, and here's the thing. I think that the idea, and certainly we can look at those tactics and break those tactics down and talk about why that was bad, but did it rise to the level of criminal misconduct? Was a question, and that the jury didn't buy that it was, apparently. So,
I'm surprised.
In a jury full of cops would have treated that differently than a jury full of civilians.
Well, this is one of those situations where,
right, and it can go one way or the other depending upon it. What's happening. A cop would have said, "You can't tell the difference between some slovenly drunk in the hallway and somebody who's a potential terrorist, or something."
Yeah.
Couldn't you have had him face the other way and pull his shirt up, pull his pants down, for Christ's sakes? Do whatever you got to do. I mean,
you know what they do in Israel when they have a suspected suicide bomber?
They have him stripped.
They make him
naked.
strip butt naked right there in front of everybody in the middle of the street while somebody holds down on them. You have to strip down to be butt naked in Israel to make sure that you're not a suicide bomber. So that's one of the things you can do, I suppose. Anyway. So, Kevin Haynes, you asked for my opinion, and you got my opinion, and Gil's opinion, and Kent's opinion. So that's 3 for the price of 1, and I hope you're happy with that answer. And we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get back into it, folks. So we'll see you here in a couple minutes.
Love traps, setbacks, all can come
Pick
back.
up on the
Take
track,
in stride,
love and devotion.
don't
In
confide.
the tracks of lost emotion,
Let it ride.
it's going to subside.
Oh, she stole
my
his
heart,
heart.
but it's just a misdemeanor. You got to get over
Oh,
it.
he loved her from the start. What you gonna do?
When I think I'm in love and I catch my girl doing me wrong,
Too bad.
it's just another setback in his life. Like when you get your first ticket for illegal parking.
But don't you know?
It's no big deal.
Take it slow.
She's not for real.
Let it go.
Find a new appeal. She stole my heart, but it's just a misdemeanor. You got to get over
Oh, he
it.
loved her from the start. Love traps, setbacks, all can come
Pick
back.
up on the faith,
Take in stride,
love and devotion.
don't
In the
confide.
tracks of lost emotion,
Let it ride.
it's gonna subside.
Oh, she stole
my heart, but it's just a misdemeanor. You got to get over it.
from the start. What you gonna do?
When I can't let her go, and my friends all tell me when I'm playing the fool.
Too bad.
She makes me feel so out of place. Like when you run a red light and find yourself pulling over.
But don't you know?
It's no big deal.
Take it slow.
She's not for real.
Let it go.
Find a new appeal. She stole my heart, but it's just a misdemeanor. You got to get over
Oh, he
it.
loved her from the start.
You're what I need. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, she stole his heart.
It's just a misdemeanor. You got to get
Oh,
over
he
it.
loved her from the start.
You're what I need.
Oh, she stole his heart.
It's just a misdemeanor. You got to get over it. You're what I need. It's just a misdemeanor. You got to get over it.
All right, and that was Misdemeanor by Foster Silvers, LA's own Foster Silvers, produced by his older brother Leon.
Misdemeanor, huh?
Misdemeanor. It's just a misdemeanor.
I never knew what they were saying.
That's what they're saying, misdemeanor. Wow. Well, we got another song we're going to play. You probably didn't know what they were saying either. We're going to play Come and Get Your Love by Redbone on the next break. And everybody thinks they're saying, hey, hey, they're saying hell. They're not saying, hey, they're saying hell. Everybody get the words wrong on that song, too. But you'll recognize when we play it. All right. On the next break.
I thought that was Pastaducci, but I guess.
Wow.
That's what I thought it was.
You're like 10 years off in musical history with that, and a whole continent away. Those are Jamaican kids.
Well, that's my bad then.
That was musical youth. Musical youth, That's what that was. It was musical youth. But anyway, that was Foster Silvers with his hit song Misdemeanor. It came out in like 1973, I believe. All right, so listen. We had a video. We have a video that we're going to play. And the title of the video is Citizens Aid Columbia, South Carolina Officer in Fight with Suspect. But a friend of mine, shout out to Jeff Shelton, says it probably, to counter some of the narratives out there, should have said that black citizens help white cop in fight with suspect, just to kind of like get that out there too, because that's exactly what happened. And then some people, because the officer happens to be female, are feeling a certain kind of way about it. But I want to play the video. And we're going to, I'm going to give you some backstory first. So suspect was at a gas station, a Quickie Mart kind of a deal. One of those, you get gas, go inside and get your Slurpee, some cigarettes, whatever, a stop and rob kind of a place, right? In there, he produces a knife and will not let people leave. He begins threatening people, etc. Now, he's not trying to commit a robbery or anything, apparently.
False imprisonment.
But exactly. So false imprisonment, not letting people go, threatening people, terrorist threats, the whole thing. And he's brandishing a knife. Quite naturally, police get called. Apparently, suspect is leaving as the police are pulling up, and this officer IDs the suspect, and then we see what happens on this video. This is Columbia, South Carolina. That sound?
She's way too close.
There's sound.
She just tased him?
Yeah, she tased him.
That didn't work real well.
Nope. It worked for a minute. So she changes her battery out, or changes the prongs out.
Would it go into his jacket?
Yeah, probably. But that fucking jacket.
Now she's really making a mistake.
Here we go.
Now this is unbelievable.
But you know what? She ain't no punk. I got to give her that. I know a lot of male officers would have punked the fuck out on that.
What does that mean? Doing something that she's not a punk, but she's putting herself. She's totally disadvantaged before she's. Well, why didn't she do that first? She go to her pepper spray right now?
Probably because she didn't want to have to go hands on with him after she pepper sprayed him.
She thought the taser was going to take
him
out.
Okay.
Okay.
Now watch this. Fucking citizen applying boots.
Now she's trying to handcuff the guy by herself.
Well, she stays on top of him until backup gets there. And so now she's on top of him.
She should have asked the guy to stay on it. Maybe she did.
The one that kicked him in the head and then walked away.
Well, I'm going to tell you why that happened in a second. All right. So I understand we have a caller, but caller, hang on. We got to debrief this video. Oh, the caller hung up? Okay, cool. Call back after we talk about the video. So, okay. So we were talking through this thing as we were watching it. And, Kent made a comment earlier about an old school LAPD guy we know who made a comment about female officers, and hey,
I made the first comment about female officers, and then he backed her up, and then
he said, well, it wasn't
gave her an out, right?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead and explain it.
All right. So that officer there, a lot of people are saying, hey, she shouldn't have put herself in that situation. She shouldn't have tried to take down a larger suspect by herself, etc. And I agree with that from a tactical standpoint. Okay. But I also know that one of the complaints that people have about female officers is that they're not willing to engage. And she was certainly willing to engage. I got to give her heart credit because she was willing to engage. I got to give her credit for not being afraid to go hands on with somebody.
I think the females who aren't engaging, knowing exactly the fact that they're totally disadvantaged at that moment, are the smart ones. Even a male officer shouldn't engage when he knows he might get his ass handed to him and get his gun taken from him. You need to be smart. Okay. You got to wait.
And I acknowledge that 100%. And what you're saying, I cannot disagree with. I'm merely speaking about people saying, because there's a lot of people watching this saying, well, she shouldn't have been there in the first place because she's a victim of political correctness. Female officers, I doubt female officers, or I question female officers, etc. Now, first of all, she wasn't no shrinking violet. This girl, this was a pretty physically substantial female. Okay, like she probably drives a little bit of iron or whatever.
Substantial.
She's physically substantial for a female because, like, she drives a little iron. If you look at her arms and her uniform sleeves, she drives a little iron.
In comparison to other females,
in comparison to other females and some male officers,
some male, sure,
and some male officers,
right.
Because she displayed a willingness to go hands-on that is rare nowadays, and I have to applaud her for being willing to do that, even if maybe it's tombstone courage. And maybe it wasn't the best thing to do judgmentally or tactically, but I give her this. She ain't no punk. And in the industry, there's a whole lot of punks out there right now, in my opinion. It's refreshing to see her willing to go hands-on and knuckle up with somebody.
I love the fact that females are in law enforcement. And I love the fact that it's the dog and the fight and the dog, not the dog and the fight type thing. Some of these females are, could be real scrappy. That is totally irrelevant.
Shout out to Rosa Ponce de Leon and Diane Ochoa and Kendra Williams and a bunch of others out there that are real scrappy females that I appreciate having the opportunity to work with. Go ahead.
There are so many instances where it's such a liability to have females in the street. I think females in investigations are so deadly because they're dealing with men specifically in a man's world, and they're able to manipulate men, interview men, and everything else. But they have to go through patrol,
right, to become
a decent investigator, to where their strengths are, and their total weakness is in the field, on patrol, in uniform. It brings with it so much baggage that it's incredible. But you know what? I would take a strong female officer over some weak ass male officer.
Thank you. That's what I was getting ready to say.
However, even she was my partner, and I never wanted to have a female partner because I knew it was going to be an absolute hindrance to me, because you can't undo human behavior, and as part of a male's human behavior is that I don't want to get involved in something that she's going to get her ass kicked. She doesn't think like I'm going to think as a male. I may not even get involved in something, but she's going to try to get involved in something simply because she thinks she needs to prove herself, because she's got this
all females don't think like that. They don't all think alike
in the world, because they're working predominantly in a male world.
It's male dominated.
And so they are disadvantaged all the time. It's a problem. It's a workaround issue, and sometimes it can become deadly. Sometimes it's hugely beneficial for us. But stuff like that, females have to know where their strengths and weaknesses are, just like
everybody got to know that. See, I don't think it's a male or female thing. I think it's what are your physical capabilities relative to that suspect.
And if that was a male cop, those two guys may not have even come to that cop's assistance.
May not have, absolutely.
I agree with
may not have.
You can't deny all this stuff.
No, absolutely. I'll give you that.
If you're going to get into this political correct stuff, I'm just going to put these things on and I'm going to
that's absolutely true,
crap,
That's absolutely true that those citizens may not have come to aid. But if you look at that video again, you'll see them two dickless suits back there pumping gas didn't get involved. Right. There was two dudes back there pumping gas, looked like real estate salesmen or something with suits on, and they're watching like, man, somebody ought to call the police.
Well, there have been
somebody to help that girl.
There have been firemen who haven't gotten involved when a cop's getting his ass kicked, and they're standing there watching it, and when asked why, they said, because we don't get paid to do that. We don't do that. So they let the cop get his...
But you know what? Depending on where they are, there's certain firemen who will whoop that ass, okay?
Right.
Depending on where they are. But other firemen in high crime areas, no, they got to be out there when we're not there. So they're not going to be seen as being aiding and abetting the police, because now what happens when there's a grease fire and it's not a police call, and that same fireman who was out there beating that dude's ass, now he's out there without a cop. And now that dude is like, oh, you're the one that helped the police jump on me that day.
Yeah, but the flip side to that is the cop may remember that they didn't help. And next time when the fireman's getting shot at and getting his ass kicked by some 5150.
Yeah, that's your duty bound, though, to do something about that. I mean, I don't blame nozzleheads for that.
I never saw a firefighter or a paramedic back down from anything. I just never saw it.
I never saw it either, but I'm not surprised to hear that it happened. Yeah. But to your point about the people who got involved, the female who walked over, because it was a male and a female. The male tackled the guy, and the female came over and put the boots to him real quick.
Right.
And if you can find that video with sound, she's cursing the guy out.
I found it.
Oh, you got it with sound? Yeah, let's play it again, and you'll hear that female calling dude a punk bitch or something like that. And I believe she was one of the hostages in the store, and this is her get back. Okay, so that's why she helped subdue him and put a little payback in there. So let's run that video again and hear it this time with sound. Okay, so there's a taser. Taser didn't work.
We're not on right now, right?
Are we on? Or are my time great? So you see, he's not trying to engage the officer, really. He's not trying to fight with her. He's just being resistant. But she's on him now, man. She goes in for that. She shoots in for that tackle. He's just being resistant. He's not trying to assault her.
And all reason to not do this at this moment, actually. I mean, he doesn't want anything to do with this. Just let him walk.
You see you see the dickless real estate agents back there?
She called for backup.
She already called for backup. Now here comes, all right, now here comes a citizen. And bam! Takedown. Now watch the lady with the boots. Listen. Yeah, she said, get your ass on the ground like she said, bitch.
Addictive behavior going on.
Yeah, see, she got a name tag on her shirt. I'm telling you, she was an employee, man.
Okay, I got no motherfucking boots. Fuck his ass up. I'm not gonna sit.
This is exactly why, that it's. I believe that courts recognize the ability for females to use deadly force quicker than male cops do.
Well, that's why
Because
Betty
they end up
Shelby walked in
situation.
Oklahoma. That's exactly why Tulsa, Oklahoma police officer Betty Shelby walked on murder charges.
Yeah.
For that reason.
A jury would be totally sympathetic, and I think the court just automatically recognizes you. Even a male officer can say, "Look at this dude. He just trashed 5 guys, and I'm in the middle of this by myself." At some point, you're going to shoot this dude.
Hey, you can articulate
and it's
that,
your
sure.
frame of mind individually as a police officer when you're wrapped up in that. Not what somebody else would have done in your place. It was you doing that.
Based on your limitations, your abilities, his limitations, his abilities, etc.
So, therefore, Ron McCarthy says, wait a minute. Society has decided that they're putting police officers, female police officers, in uniform and in those predicaments. Okay? So if she decides she's going to shoot somebody at a certain point, don't blame her if she shoots somebody much quicker than a male officer would.
Well, the threat, it's all about the threat that person feels at the time that they can articulate. Not bare fear, but articulable threat to your safety, right? But here's my question. I asked a guy on Facebook this because he said some of the same things you're saying about female officers. And I say, well, then should there be size requirements for male officers? Remember back in the day, there used to be.
Absolutely.
You used to have to be 5'10" or 5'11" to be on LAPD. As a male, you had to be 5'10" or 5'11" to be a policeman in the city of Los Angeles. And they changed that.
Yeah, because you couldn't get Mexicans because we're only 5'8".
You had to wear elevator
Damn it,
shoes.
shit.
Yeah,
Single
right.
So, but you know what? There's been some damn fine policemen out there that are they're under 5'10". Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
they're
sure
out there
have
doing
been.
a job
Right.
that are fucking legends in the streets that are doing their thing. And those guys couldn't have been policemen under that old size requirement. So I don't think that was a good thing. I think we got away from that, and rightfully so. But that female officer we just saw right there, that physically substantial female, there's a lot of male officers she could whoop their natural ass, okay? Because they're just not as physically substantial as she is male or female.
If she was my partner that day, I would have been high-fiving her all along saying, God, you're in it. You're in the fight and everything else.
Oh, you know what? And
that will never change my opinion, though, about the entire topic.
But you know who that reminds me of watching that? Her attitude, her build, everything reminds me of Katie Latham.
Yeah, absolutely.
It reminds me of Katie. And shout out to Katie
does.
Latham.
Right.
Katie Latham wasn't no punk either.
Yeah.
She'd get out there, she'd fight, she'd shoot, she'd do all that stuff, okay? And she was legit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was legit, man. Went on to a leadership position. She was smart as a whip, too. So, if anybody, you want to call in and add your voice to the conversation, 323-293-3375. I got a text from Ed in Colorado, so I know he's watching. So, Ed, that's 323-293-3375.
Yeah, Ed in Colorado wants to know, what's with the stingy brim?
With the hat, with your cover, the Dick Tracy cover, the fedora.
Yeah, I was at a Christmas thing earlier, and I also was at. I was just telling Kent before. This friend of mine, a guitar player who's just like magic on the guitar. Mm-hmm. He was getting ready to go have back surgery, so he was getting prepped. He went to see the doc to get prepped for his back surgery, and they found brain cancer. And, it's now stage 4, and,
Oh my God!
so there was a bunch of us there singing
With him?
Christmas carols and stuff. He came out, and it was a surprise to him. And
Oh wow, man!
so that's what I had the hat on. And
That's nice, man. That's nice of you guys.
yeah, it was touching, man.
Hey,
Yeah,
Ed, how you
man.
doing?
Ed from Colorado.
Ed from Colorado. Ed told me he
Sent me a
joked.
picture of a bunch of cigars, but he
Yeah,
didn't
me
send
too.
one.
Yeah, he just sent us pictures. He gave us a virtual Christmas gift. So Puff, but he's out in Colorado, so maybe those aren't cigars.
Yeah.
I don't know. Puff, puff, pass, right?
Merry
In
Christmas,
the
Ed.
state of Colorado.
Not
yes,
yet.
Merry Christmas.
not
And Happy
yet.
Kwanzaa, my brother. So,
You
so
know,
yeah.
you know that ain't no holiday. You better stop.
No, it is. Me and Ed are going to celebrate Kwanzaa together this year. So we also have another video that we're gonna get in, and this guy was this situation is a very dangerous situation, and I lost a friend in the line of duty in a similar situation to this. In Pembroke Pines, Florida, an officer responded to a call of 2 people passed out in a vehicle, a male and a female, in a parking lot. And we have a caller. Okay, so let me jump on the call before we get to the Pembroke Pines story, because that's going to be a long one. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
George, this is Ed,
Ed from Colorado.
all the way.
All right, how you doing, brother?
Well, I'm getting alive, but looking at you guys, I feel much older now.
Yeah, because we were always the youngins, right?
You still are.
Yeah, I know, but now look. So what's the weather like out there, man? You buried under snow?
Not buried, but it's 14 degrees and there's snow on the ground.
Are you kidding me? I was
too
in
cold.
Chicago last week. It was 19 degrees, and I thought I was going to die.
19
14
degrees right
degrees.
now would be a nice heat wave.
Well, hey, so listen, out in Colorado, man, what's the marijuana laws? How's that impacting the standard of living in the state of Colorado?
How much you smoking a day?
Yeah, your personal use level is what now?
I'll take the 5th on that one.
I ain't mad at you.
I've talked to a couple of the local officers out here, and they saying that the negative activities have gone up somewhat.
Now that's whether like stuff like driving while intoxicated or driving under influence or what?
Yes to all the above.
Really? Now is it? I understand in California, because come January 1st, it becomes just as illegal here as it is in Colorado. That they cannot sell it in a place that serves alcohol. Is that the case in Colorado also?
Correct.
So you can't have a bar where you serve wine and weed. It's one or the other.
Right.
Pick your poison.
Wow. Okay.
So if you want to get high, you got to figure out whether it's going to be ingested or injected.
Right, exactly. But let me ask you this. So you can just walk now into a store and just buy marijuana? I mean, like, do they have it like on the shelf at CVS or
You got to go to a
7-Eleven or whatever?
dispensary. You got to go to a dispensary, right?
I don't know.
There's dispensaries, and it's just like walking into a CVS or Rite Aid. It's
Just walk in,
advertised
cash
up
and
there.
carry.
I'm sorry,
Just walk in, cash and carry, like you're buying a bag of chips.
pretty much it.
That's incredible.
And the chips. I guess you can buy the
You
chips.
should be able to buy chips if they're smart.
Sure.
You sell the chips too, right?
And the condom.
Because it's coming. And the condoms. Yeah. Right. Condoms, chips, and weed. Yeah.
There's a lot of burglaries of some of these businesses, and
Oh, quite naturally.
211's going down.
So, and 211 is robbery for our audience here at home. So let me ask you this, man. So in terms of like just driving down the street, walking down the street, you smell it in the air, or like what can we expect here in California?
I didn't get the question.
Can you smell it in the air just driving down the street, walking down the street?
There's a street down here not too awful far from me here, about 5 miles out. It's called Broadway. You drive down Broadway and end up with a contact high.
That sounds like the whole city of Los Angeles.
Right. But so people, you can't drive and smoke just like you can't drink and drive, right?
You can't drive and smoke.
Okay. Well, then, all right. That's you got to walk, I guess. You can just walk down the street smoking a joint like it's.
No, you can't do it in public.
Oh, really?
Yeah, same here. You can't do that. The only place you're only going to be able to smoke is at your house.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's good because I don't want to be subjected to that. That's my issue with marijuana over every other objection is that if you're sitting there, you could have a fifth of Jack Daniels and you could have a liter of scotch and you guys could both polish them off and I won't be affected one bit. But both you guys sitting there smoking a joint with me in the middle, I'm going to catch some of that.
You know,
the last time Kent smoked. Well, I don't want to get into it. I'm sorry.
you know, you're going to have to evolve because I believe that Barack Obama is now smoking.
Is no longer president.
Officially.
Is no longer president.
Yeah.
So
He's still out there on tour.
you know. But I'm just saying that's my only issue with marijuana is the fact that it can get somebody else high who's not partaking. You know.
You're wrong.
It's so offensive.
You're wrong.
You can have it on you in your vehicle, just like you're carrying a six-pack from the store. You just can't consume it in public.
Wow.
Can it be? Can the joint have been lit and put out, kind of like an open container?
Negative.
No, because then it's presumed that you smoked it while driving your vehicle.
Just like an open container, right?
Yeah.
Just like an open container.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I get that then. That makes a little bit more sense then. All right, Ed. Hey, man. Listen. So this may be the last time we get to talk to you on the air for a while. Of course, I'll talk to you, just in our regular social life. But I do appreciate you calling in, man.
Well, I keep threatening to come out there and visit, but
I don't know why you don't.
I'm too afraid to come to California anymore.
Well, you can bring your weed after January 1st.
I don't know why you're afraid of that. Colorado is like California too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well,
It's just colder.
It's starting to turn that direction
It's
because
just
all the knuckleheads are coming out
From California.
here from California.
Yeah.
They're trying to bring their trash with them.
Just like California and Arizona.
Doing it to Nevada.
That's what I meant. Nevada and Arizona. Absolutely right. Well, there it is. Hey, man, appreciate you. Thanks for calling in. And let's stay updated on the other situation we talked about earlier, too, with our boy.
Roger that.
All right. Thanks, man.
Take care.
All right, brother.
See, Ed.
All right. And that was Ed from Colorado.
Can I just tell you that Ed from Colorado and I were hired the exact same day.
I think you told me that before.
We were boots at the same time.
Is that right? Yeah. Wow. Some old timers, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Ed's old school police.
Ed from Colorado.
He's in Colorado now. He's from Texas originally, but he's in Colorado now. So, listen, I think actually that took us up to the break. So when we get back, we can talk about the Pembroke Pines, Florida police officer. And we're going to take a short break. We're going to have a little musical interlude.
Well, I think it's time to get ready.
All right, that was Love is Alive by Gary Wright, which has been sampled by Third Base and some other bands. So, last week in Pembroke Pines, Florida, we had a police officer responding to a call of two people unconscious in a vehicle. And he walks up on the vehicle, do a welfare check, approaches, windows partially down, and he sees a man and a woman inside the vehicle. They're passed out, and they have drugs and drug paraphernalia in plain view. So the officer goes to make contact, and when he goes to make contact, the male subject who's behind the wheel of the vehicle apparently comes to, gathers his senses, starts the vehicle up, and takes off. And then we'll see what happens here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Whoa!
This is new video from tonight proving once again there is no such thing as a routine call for a police officer. This is a Pembroke Pines officer who thought he was going to help someone out, but ended up getting dragged for more than half a mile. And on top of that near-death experience, other Pembroke Pines officers then had to chase the suspect down several highways. CBS 4's Carrie Codd live in Hollywood, where that officer who was dragged is recovering tonight. Carrie.
That's right. We're told Officer John Cusack underwent surgery here today. We're told the 19-year police veteran is expected to make a full recovery, but it will take time. This is the view that Pembroke Pines police officer John Cusack had when he walked up to a parked car in Century Village Tuesday morning. His body camera was recording. Police say Cusack saw two people unresponsive inside with suspected drug paraphernalia in the vehicle.
Got ID?
The officer unlocked the door and awoke the man in the driver's seat. Seconds later, the driver took off.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Police say Officer Cusack reached into the car to try and stop a possibly impaired driver from getting on the road. Cusack held on as the driver reached speeds of 60 miles an hour. His body camera fell off as police say the driver tried to purposely hit several objects to knock Cusack from the car. After more than half a mile, a surveillance camera shows Cusack in the middle to right section of the top of the screen, tumbling off the vehicle as Pines police officers pursue the car that dragged the officer. Cusack's clothes and parts of his uniform later lay in the street. He suffered significant road rash and injuries to several sections of his body. Police Captain Al Zekas said Cusack held on until the car slowed down enough for him to release himself.
The officer was concerned that if he let go, he was going to be run over by the back tires, as well as the injuries he would suffer would be much more severe.
As officers tended to Cusack, the driver led police on a lengthy chase at speeds of up to 105 miles an hour. He weaved in and out of traffic, on the shoulder, and finally slowed to a crawl when he got stuck in morning rush hour traffic. Police boxed the driver in, then pulled the driver, Thomas Cabrera, from the vehicle and placed him in cuffs. They also pulled a female passenger from the car. She has not been charged with the crime. Cabrera is charged with trying to murder a police officer, a veteran cop who police say was simply doing his job.
Officer Cusack was doing what every police officer does day in and day out, try to save the life of a perfect stranger, and in the process, he almost lost his own.
Now, according to this arrest report released by Pembroke Pines police tonight, Thomas Cabrera admitted to investigators that he did cocaine and heroin in the car before Officer Cusack arrived. Also in the arrest report, Cabrera admits that he drove off with the officer on the vehicle. Why did he do that? Cabrera told police he didn't want to go to jail. Investigators say that's where Cabrera is tonight. Live in Hollywood.
So they're in there speedballing, doing cocaine and heroin together. You know, they say that the female wasn't arrested. She probably slept through the whole thing.
Yeah.
She probably had no idea what was going on from beginning to end. You know, but I'm going to say this, man. So on April 29, 2005, with the worst day of my law enforcement career, one of my coworkers and someone I considered to be a friend, Tommy Edward Scott, was killed at Los Angeles International Airport in this exact same scenario. Someone took off. Actually, guy was walking in the middle of the street. Tommy gets out to make contact with the guy. The guy runs around the police car, jumps in Tommy's police car, throws it in drive, takes off. Tommy jumps in the car to try to stop the guy from taking the car. He's dragged down Lincoln Boulevard so bad that his boots were worn from being dragged down the street. And the car jumped a curb. Car door hit a fire extinguisher, and the car door slammed shut, and it decapitated my friend. And he died in the line of duty right then and there, okay? And so this is very, very dangerous, and I can guarantee you when this case goes to court in Florida, they're going to use that example to talk about how dangerous it was for that officer and why they're putting attempted murder charges on that subject. You know, and you play it back in your head over and over again, man, what would I have done differently? What could I have done differently, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, this is one of those situations where, man, you just don't get yourself in that situation, I guess.
Well, if you find yourself in that situation, you don't hang out to the car, for God's sake.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by that situation. Because once the car starts going, what are you going to do?
That is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Well,
Holding on to the goddamn cars that's driving away.
You know what I think happened, man? I think the dude was reaching into the car, probably going to try to turn the car off or put it in park. And by the time he realized he couldn't do that, the car was up to such speeds that he was kind of stuck. Because what do? You jump off at that point? You know what I mean? Or do you take the chance that maybe I can get him to slow down and stop or something? You know what I mean? At that point, you got a hard decision to make, man. When that car reaches speed, you got a hard decision to make because you're there now.
If you're still holding on when the car reaches speed, yeah, you got a tough decision to make.
You got a tough decision to make. Absolutely.
However, yeah.
Well, no, there's no doubt about it. That was clearly not the best thing to do. No doubt about it. I mean, you know, just from the outcome that I personally know about.
He must have been using both hands. Because he should have shot the dude.
But let's talk about that.
The door.
Right, and so Tommy couldn't shoot the guy because Tommy was right-handed. Because I played this over my head so many times after Tommy died. I was thinking if it had been me, because I'm left-handed, man, I could have fought for the wheel. I could have pulled my pistol out, and I could have killed the dude, and I could have, you know what I mean? But if you're right-handed, your holster is pinned between you and the subject, and you can't really do all that stuff.
That's why you carry a backup on the opposite side.
Yeah, that's why I carried it back up on the opposite side. That's why you carried it back up on the opposite side.
I don't know that, you know, shooting the guy is the, you know, it's let the guy go, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, you're there now. You're there now. You're here holding on for dear life now, and your hair's blowing back.
Right.
You're there now.
You already established that. Now he's already stuck. Apparently, he's not letting go. So the next option would have been, since he put himself in a bad situation, was to shoot the guy.
Well, you have to hold on. He can't. It's like Keanu Reeves in Point Break, right? do you
I didn't see that.
Do you shoot the guy or pull the ripcord?
Right. What do you do? Right. Well, you know what, man? At that point, it's just such adrenaline and there's some fear in there, et cetera. You know, I thought he was going to try to maybe go for one of those grassy medians and do the tuck and roll or something. But the problem is there's palm trees, and the last thing you want to do is hit a palm tree at speed. Okay, so that dude was stuck, man. That was a shitty situation to be in. Yeah. He's fortunate that the suspect slowed down enough for him to detach himself from that vehicle and just got some road rash.
He should just ran to his car and chased him.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you know, and all of us that day wish Tommy had let the dude just take his car.
Almost every time that.
Well, I understand. I actually understand that a little bit more.
Because it's more of a threat.
Well, who wants to say, "Oh yeah, there goes your police car down the street"? Yeah. I shot at the guy. I don't think I would have.
Almost every time that this happens, it's always bad.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no good into it at that point.
Sure. I mean, that's. Should have never done that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, but that's one of them situations.
That's an academy thing.
Well, that's a situation that should be in the academy.
That's
where everybody's told don't do it.
Where's that, Florida?
Florida, yeah.
You know, that dude needs to shave. What's with all the beard?
Well, you saw the modified grooming standards?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had modified grooming standards
up in Berkeley, California, they grow beards and long hair.
Right, Berkeley, Palo Alto, Mountain View, all those agencies up there, man, they got modified grooming standards. Yeah. So that happened, okay? Here's another interesting video. That I just dug it, man, because the dude, even though this is more foolishness that you shouldn't do, if you could do it, man, do it with steely-eyed resolve. So I think this is also in Florida. We had a guy coming to CVS, and he's going to rob the store, okay? But the clerk, I guess, is either jaded or don't give two shits or whatever, and he ain't having it. So we had the guy come in, and you have video surveillance of the guy coming into the store. He goes and actually gets some stuff and puts it on the counter. He's not one of these. He's probably trying to build his nerve up. He's not one of these guys who goes to go straight for the register, you know, or he's casing the joint to make sure there's nobody else in there, right? Because it appears to be like at night or something. So the guy goes and gets some items, comes and puts the items up on the thing, and then when the clerk goes to ring him up, then the dude kind of slowly produces a little snub nose revolver, and he proceeds to try to get the cashier to open the register. We're about okay. So he's and I dig the stoicism that the cashier displays. Man, he's he's got that Kanye West stare that just like you'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean when it gets played because he's just looking like, like whatever, dude.
Kanye got that look like, huh?
Yeah, he's just looking at him. It's just like, no expression. He appears to have a blank expression, and he's just looking at the dude.
Kanye looks like if he had a son, he'd probably just name it North. That's what probably he would do.
No, he had his daughter, and he already named her North. So he got to pick somebody else.
Oh.
Yeah, him and Kim Kardashian have a daughter, Northwest. So maybe I have to name his kid South.
Oh, is that his name, Northwest?
The daughter's name is Northwest. Seriously, isn't that amazing? Northwest.
That is the dumbest thing I've heard of.
North by Northwest.
Let me know when this comes up, but that reminds me, and I could never find it on YouTube. I probably have to go in and search again. Maybe it doesn't exist, but it reminds me of a guy that owned like a. You got it? Okay.
Okay, so watch this guy come in and try to jack the CVS, and look at the cashier. So you see a dude come in. We get another shot of him coming in here, and he goes off to get some stuff. Comes and puts it like, what is that, like some
like
famous Amos chips or something?
Looks
famous
like
Amos going on?
Either that or Snuggies Kiggies.
Now watch this. So now watch the dude. Now he sees he's nervous, and then he decides, okay, now's the time I'm going to do this. I'm going to point my gun, and you're going to cry out in fear and give me all the money in the drawer. And watch the cashier.
Turn it sideways. You got to be official.
Watch the cashier.
Sideways.
Look at the cashier.
And wave it. Use it.
Check out how this cashier stays calm under pressure when a customer pulls a gun on him. It happened in Kansas City. Surveillance footage shows a man walk up to the service counter at a Jimmy John's restaurant and start talking to an employee. Check out how this cashier stays calm under pressure when a customer pulls a gun on him.
Wrong audio. Wrong audio. This one didn't even have any audio. It was just raw footage of the.
Who's Jimmy John?
Well, that happened. We actually played that last year. The Jimmy John's robbery thing.
I thought Jimmy John was in studio.
Yeah. So can we go back to the part where he produces the pistol and points it at the cashier? So he comes in and he's he goes and gets his little whatever it is, famous Amos, whatever he got,
Snuggies,
his Zuzus and Wham Whams. And puts him up on the cash register.
Put his hood on.
He had to put the hoodie up, right, which is odd because he didn't come with it up. And see how he's nervous tapping the counter? I think he's trying to get his nerve up. Now I'm going to go and pull out this pistol I got way down in my back pocket if I can get it just right. And now give me all your money.
Boom.
Now watch the cashier just look at him. Man, here's your stuff, man. What? What? So he's just looking at him like, what? That's a Kanye West stare, I'm telling you. That's a 1,000-yard stare. Man, all right, man. It's cool. And so he bails out.
I just take my Snuggies cookies.
Right, exactly. I'm taking my Zoom and my Wham Whams. No, I don't think he even paid for them. Because it's like, here, man, you want the cookies? What you want? Now, here's my thing.
Oh, my God.
While I think it's hilarious that he just stared the dude down like that, man, that's not your money. That's right. That's CVS's money. And it turns out it was Kansas City. No, it wasn't Kansas City. It actually was Florida. That's their money, man. I'm not about to even let somebody point a gun at me too long, let alone take a bullet over CVS's well-insured money. You know what I mean? Just cooperate and give the dude the money. But some people on social media have speculated that he actually knew the dude and that he's just looking at him like, really?
I said, man, what you doing?
Right, man. Hold on, man. What is you doing?
Eddie, why are you trying to rob me?
What is you doing, man?
Eddie, is that you? Why are you robbing me, man? Put that hood down, man.
He's like, he's looking at him like, are you serious right now?
This is a robbery, right? I'm supposed to put my hands up?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I thought that was...
brother, please.
I thought that was crazy, man. But the dude just gave up. You know, he's a discouraged robber. Maybe he'll rethink his life a crime now.
This is similar to this video I was telling you on the during the video.
Uh-huh.
White dude looks like Wyatt Earp. He's a small business owner, and all the brothers are coming in to rob his store, and he's armed. And there are 7 different shootings with suspects coming into the store, and it got so bad during these 7 shootings that the brothers are going, man, who does this motherfucker think he is, you know? And so they go, send another one in there, man. Go get that boy. And so one would walk in, and there'd be a shooting, and he didn't walk out.
This in the same city, the same incident?
No, it's in some large city, and he's a white guy, and he's obviously living in or his business is in a black neighborhood.
Right.
And one guy came in, standing right on the other side of the counter. He pulls out a gun. He goes, "Give me your money, motherfucker." And he goes, "I'm not giving you my money." Boom.
Whoa.
The store owner goes for his gun. He's at a disadvantage because he's behind the curve.
On a draw gun.
And it's probably from me to Gil. Suspect shoots him right through the neck. Store owner shoots and kills him.
Wow.
Store owner lives. This kept going, and the news was like, he killed another one.
Wow.
You know? And so they were interviewing store owners.
Eventually your luck's going to run out.
It was this Latino guy, and they said, "What do you think about him?" And he goes, "God damn, he's tough." You know? That's all this guy said, "God damn, he's tough." And his family said, "You can't stay here anymore. The neighborhood, they want to kill you." And he goes, "I don't give a damn. I'm staying here." And the guy hardly said a word, just like Wyatt Earp.
Wow.
And finally they said, you need to go. And he goes, "All right." So he finally shut his business down and moved out after he had killed 7 people.
But you know what? In that same neighborhood, because people are always going to blame him, not the assholes that tried to rob him.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be careful with that, man, because we had a situation here in L.A. about 15 years ago. Guy owned a business. He was a small businessman. He owned a coin transport company for armored car stuff, right? But they just did coins, like vending machines. Mm-hmm. He got robbed at one time on his route. He gets robbed. He kills the robber. And I think there's like 2 or 3 robbers that's coming to hit him and the guy he's working with. He kills one of the robbers. Dead right there. All right. Cool. Justifiable homicide or whatever. The next year, on the same day, he gets ambushed and killed in that same spot by 2 suspects, and they didn't take a dime. They said it was just to send a message as revenge for killing the first guy right there. Right. Never mind the fact that they were shitbags who were trying to rob somebody who's a hardworking guy. They were pissed about that, you know? So you got to be careful, man, because hood mentality is different.
It reminds me of the old Jeremiah Johnson movie, you know?
Oh, yeah, Robert Redford.
And so they had to send the whole tribe. And the chief said, "Go get him." And the next guy would go, it was always one-on-one. And he kept killing every one of them. Finally, it was just the chief left.
Right,
and the chief shows up on his horse and goes, "Peace, brother."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, you never know, man. So listen, can we do the gun buyback, video? Because I want to talk about that, because that's something that just keeps happening, and all these major cities keep doing the gun buyback thing, and every year it seems like a rocket launcher shows up, and this year in San Francisco was no different. So we're going to roll that footage and talk about it.
A bazooka was one of many weapons turned in today at a gun buyback program in San Francisco, California. A violence prevention and youth development organization hosted the buyback event. The organization says the initiative ensures people's safety by keeping guns off the streets.
During this time of the year, during the holidays, there's more domestic violence killings, there's more suicides, and more violence in general that's happening behind guns. And so I'm not against the Second Amendment, but I am against senseless gun violence.
During today's event, more than 180 guns were turned in. San Francisco police loaded a van with rifles, shotguns, and various handguns. Authorities are encouraging people to stop by to turn over any weapons. Police say that they will not ask any questions.
All right. Hey, Eddie Goodman, here he is, our studio audience of one of our original guests, Eddie Goodman.
He was on that first show, right? Because we did school security.
I don't think it was second show, I think. It might have been the second or maybe even third show. One of the very early shows he was on, right? For sure. So, you know, we see this gun buyback thing every year, where it's an attempt to get illegal / legal, whatever guns off the street. But nobody's turning in anything that, you know, is going to be used in a crime, especially giving them, a $100 gift card or something like that. If you're a criminal, you know that gun is worth more than that on the black market. So why would you give somebody...
Well, criminals don't show up to this.
Right, exactly. It's people who found their old granddaddy's gun, or somebody who found a gun and abandoned in the street, or a guy who's got an Army surplus Laws rocket, which is all that was. Right. It ain't like it's a live, a live bazooka as they're claiming. It's an expended Army surplus deal that you could get out of the trash down at Camp Pendleton if you know which dumpster to dive in.
Yeah. The reason these programs are so dangerous, because this is progressive public policy at work right here. This is the progressive mentality that they have. They are so afraid of gun owners that they have trained a segment of the population to think, "Oh my God, a gun!
Watch what it does.
Look,
Right.
it
By
might
itself.
It might kill
Right.
somebody. Watch
Right.
yourself. It's a gun.
Yeah.
And so they end up handling them like, oh my God, I don't want to kill nobody. I don't want to kill my. And so they take guns from law-abiding citizens who live
Right.
in the worst communities,
Where they really
who
need
get,
them.
Right.
who get the least protection from the police, and they take their guns and give them a $200
You're gonna have
Wells
to.
card.
You're gonna have to evolve on that one too pretty soon.
Unbelievable.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Unbelievable to me.
Not me.
I think so.
I'm right there with you. I know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
That's one of those things I'm very
They've
conservative
already started
about.
a waiting period in Clark County. You know what's next, right?
How long is the waiting period?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we
Clark County's like 80% of the population.
That's from
so
California,
there you are.
probably, right? Yeah. Oh, of Nevada.
It's already
you mean.
turned blue.
Yeah, absolutely right.
You're gonna see.
But if I can live with the gun laws in California, which, by the way, I'm not completely living with, I'm lead plaintiff on a lawsuit against the Department of Justice regarding an assault weapons law. Yeah, see,
You're the lead plaintiff?
The more you know. Google
You're the
it.
lead plaintiff?
Holt versus Becerra. Look it up.
Damn, I am going to look it up.
All right. So hey, Eddie Goodman.
Hey, what's going on?
So how you doing, man? What do you think about that gun buyback thing?
I think it's a joke.
I mean, because the bangers ain't lining up there to turn this stuff in, right?
Not at all.
And the video that I posted on my page, as they're doing the whole big media show, the mayor or whoever the hell she was actually says in her statement, "We don't think criminals are going to participate, but we still think it's a good idea."
Right. So you're taking the guns from everybody but criminals.
Any gun that will get off the street is good. And none of them are functional and working. They get rid of all the broken ones.
Right, all the criminals got their guns, though. Yeah, right. You know,
I don't even see the logic in it, except to just try to get as many guns as you can in any kind of way that you can off the street.
Yeah,
right.
Well, you know,
taking the grandfather's rifle that he left over from World War II doesn't stop one. It doesn't have one.
Of the 330 million guns that are already owned in the country, and the 200,000 that are bought, you know, each month, like leading up to Christmas, I think there were over 200,000 background checks just in the month of December, wasn't there?
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Santa's bringing me a Glock 19. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Well,
that's what I hear.
It just doesn't make any sense. And there's apparently been a rise in gun registration in Puerto Rico, or gun purchasing in Puerto Rico post hurricane. Mm-hmm. So like it's like more than doubled since the period before the hurricane for handguns and long guns.
Yeah.
And people are buying guns, man.
That won't be a once in a lifetime event either in Puerto Rico. They're going to have another hurricane. They're going to need that.
Absolutely. So you need to be ready, right? And
every
people,
year.
And Gil's been saying forever, understand that the government's not coming to save you at a certain point.
That's right.
In the event of a big major
when
catastrophe.
Seconds count, police are minutes away.
Exactly. Only minutes away. Absolutely.
So, can I just interview Eddie here for a minute?
Please.
Edward, here speaking to this mic.
Here you go.
Edward, you know, as a long time, you know, as a friend of mine for a long time now, and, you know, a regular listener to the show, and even having been a guest on the show, what did you think of the whole ride-along radio concept, what we tried to do? Did you think it was helpful at all, or do you think it was just, Gil and George are just, you know, going at it every week? And what did you think?
I actually enjoyed it. I think it was very informative. I really like the political stuff, like with Gil. You know, like that's one of the things that I really like.
Wait, what do you mean the political stuff?
You know what I'm talking about. But now, overall, you know, I share it on Facebook, and I think it's a good show. I think, you know, I don't know what George is going to do, but I hope that it comes back. You know, we do miss you. You know,
Gil O'Reilly.
Miss throwing rocks at Gil. You know.
Well, but I mean, you know, here's the thing I didn't want to become, and I think I kind of did become it. Is you know, Gil's the guy we love to hate. You know, just because.
Oh, that was like episode 2.
I don't think so. I don't think so because, see, here's what I thought. I thought the idea of taking these kind of, especially the high-profile ones, like George Zimmerman and some of the other high-profile shootings that occurred over the years, the Michael Brown one, the shooting in Cleveland.
Alton Sterling and Philando Castile.
To give guys like Edward and Cavett Haynes and all these other people who have never done police work, who have never been to a police academy, who don't have that kind of training experience, to look at something and go, wow, that's wrong what that officer did. This is racism. And then to be able to sit here and say, well, actually, it's not racism.
Let's talk about why that happened.
It's just tactics. It's, here's what the guy did to cause his own demise in the majority of those cases. You have your outliers and stuff, but I, the one thing that I hoped I had done and that I wanted to do as part of this thing for the time I was in it was to try to push back on this false narrative about cops killing unarmed black men because of racism, because that's just not true. The data doesn't bear that out. It's a false narrative, but it's been perpetuated by progressives, and now a good portion of the population actually believe it's true, and they still act like it is. And even today, I'm hearing this as I'm listening to people talk about the tax bill that just got passed. These black politicians are talking about racism and police racist cops, and it just makes me want to turn my radio off.
And they're tying that into the tax bill somehow?
Yes.
And the Uncle Tom, Senator Scott from South Carolina. They're attacking him now.
The discussion was that because black people view through this prism of racism that the rest of America doesn't, the rest of us just don't get it. And because of the prism that they view the world through, that's why they believe that their narrative is a real one. When if you just say, well, I see why you feel like that, but if you just look at these facts, that should change how you feel, right? And the answer is no.
And that's the thing is a lot of people say, I don't even see why you feel that way. A lot of people say, well, that's just, you guys are just, I don't know why you're just making that up. As opposed to saying, okay, I get that you feel that way. I can even understand why you feel that way. Now let's examine it. That's very rarely.
Well, that's the problem. It's how do I feel, and that's not what we shouldn't be talking about. How you feel.
That's
we
right.
should be talking about what the facts
that
are.
flavors everything, man. People vote for people based on how they feel.
But they shouldn't. They shouldn't be voting for people based on how they feel. For God's sake.
We know. That's why they do debates and campaign ads and have stylists and all that. That's just the game of politics. But we did.
Well, the game of politics is one thing, but to put forward a false narrative and then use the media and activists to brainwash part of the population to believe something is true that isn't. That's dangerous.
That's the problem.
And that's what I wanted to push against as part of this thing.
Well, you should go into the whole First Amendment thing.
The reason it was not spun out of whole cloth. There was the history where all this shit was it was racism, okay?
What was racism?
A lot of times when police were using force on black people, it was rooted in racism. That went on for so long.
When are we talking about?
I'm talking about just historically. So you have people who are coming from that perspective, and after a while, you're going to look at everything that way. And then when you look and see unarmed black people are getting killed way more than unarmed white people are getting killed, or unarmed whites or Asians or Latinos or whatever.
But they're not. That's the problem. That's the fact.
Is it that the media is only showing when the unarmed black people get killed? Is that the case?
Well, they're actually perpetuating a narrative that blacks are disproportionately being killed more than whites by police.
I said
and
unarmed.
That's not true.
No, I mean unarmed.
They actually kill more white people than.
Well, I said unarmed though, and we're talking about a proportion, not numbers, not gross numbers, because black people are minority compared to white people.
Yes, but the proportion of blacks committing crimes, then you would have to also include in that.
That's right. No, because that's two separate things.
Yes.
If you kill an unarmed person, now black contact with the police, absolutely, you have to include that. Blacks having contact with the police at a higher rate, you certainly have to include that stat.
Well, sure, but even before that,
but some of that's officer initiated, not the result of a crime.
Yeah, but how they're coming into contact more with the police, you have to back up not just from the contact, what's causing the contact.
Right, absolutely, and that's where people start talking about racism.
No,
that's where people start talking about. That's where that conversation starts being had. But okay, we only got like 2 minutes left. So,
but that's right. But see, so anyway, but that's why that's what I thought the value of this would be. And then, and then after Barack Obama was out of office, I just thought we just kind of went off the rails there for a minute. And, the world shifted when Barack Obama went out of office.
You weren't angry anymore.
I was not angry. I was never angry. I know
you weren't.
It was all rainbows and unicorns.
I'm still angry at the corruption in our government. And that's both sides. You're watching this. The point of this whole thing is not necessarily Donald Trump. The point of this is the reason he got elected is because you're looking at a government, you're looking at a system that is broken down. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at a failed state.
It is so corrupted. I don't even know. The only reason it even functions is because most of us just disregard it
and allow it to go on. Exactly. Right. So listen, we do have another show coming up behind us.
Oh, we do.
So I want to Thursday nights we have another show comes on behind us. So I want to put it out there. Gil kind of gave you a spoiler earlier. But this is going to be the last Ride Along radio show for the foreseeable future. We hope to return at some point in 2018. And just got some stuff going on personally and professionally that are not going to allow me to be able to be here reliably on Thursdays, etc., or on any given day of the week. Just so much growth in my business, etc., and some personal medical stuff I got to take some time off for. But at some point in the future, I have every intention of returning and with a same panel, different panel, however we work that out. But this is going to be the last one for a minute. So we thought that show number 100 would be a good place to put a pin in it, and the last show of 2017. And I want to thank the Poetess for providing this venue and providing a stage and a platform for us to be able to do our thing. I want to thank Gil and Kent for agreeing to do this in the first place, because without you guys, I wouldn't have felt comfortable to even try to get into this. And I want to thank my man, retired LAPD Lieutenant Gary Stromlin, who was the first person that suggested that I should do something like this. And he said him and his wife were having a conversation, because we're friends on Facebook. And he said, just knowing you and talking with you and seeing how you express your opinion about certain things, you should look into talk radio. And that planted the seed that germinated into the conversation I had with you and with you to get this going. So shout out to Gary Stromlin, because without you, I probably wouldn't be sitting here at all, man. I just wouldn't have even thought about it as something that I could do. And it's something that I've enjoyed, and 100 shows later, it's something that's certainly interesting, and it's opened up a whole new horizon for me personally in terms of something that maybe I'd like to get into as maybe a second or third act in my life in terms of a career.
It's a lot of fun. Talk radio in general. I just love radio. When we did it before, and I did public radio, and I won a golden mic, and I have friends like Frank Stoltz and David Cruz, and I just love it. I'm a news junkie, so I read everything, but I love radio. I love this platform. I love the studio. I love the Poetess. And it's been a lot of fun for me. I've enjoyed it.
Blushing back here.
I've enjoyed it.
Well, hey, and Eddie, man, thanks for, man. Eddie said he wanted to be here for the 100th show, and he made it. He came on out, and again, shout out to everybody who's been supporting us and watching us, and we hope to get back on one day and let you guys know when we're coming. So we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
That's a wrap.